Hello, welcome back for another DayZ walkthrough video. This one was recorded live here on my YouTube channel as part of a new weekly series where I will run beginner level walkthroughs on official DayZ maps and servers. I'll show the basics of survival, loot routes, give out tips, and provide a live opportunity for new players to ask questions in any area of the game. Real quick, I'll cut right through to me actually loading in and playing, as the start of the stream is basically me explaining the premise of the video as I just did here for you, and showing exactly which server that I joined so people can't try to say that I'm cheating or staging these kinds of videos. Everything is actually recorded live on an official PC server for your entertainment and nerdy gamer education. Enjoy. Before it actually was released to public, which was really cool. It's definitely a cool map. I highly recommend it for console players and people that mainly play, official servers, if you're not into modded maps and whatnot. Definitely recommend it. It's super fun and very, very different from what your normal, official experience is going to be. The cold environment is really harsh. It's a very different look and feel. There's some different buildings and points of interest that are good enough of a mix-up if you're so used to Chernarus or Livonia to make it feel like, a brand new experience. So I do recommend it if you're looking for something to switch up from normal. I will say, I have not played it a ton just because I think there are definitely some things that could be filled out with the map. I think some of the late game stuff could be fleshed out a little bit more. I've been told that it actually has since I played last, which is partly why I wanted to jump on and give Sakhal a try as the first iteration of these types of videos. So, just a quick opinion on the map itself. But with that being said, I haven't played a ton of it, and I'm not super familiar with town names and specifics. I do know my way around the map, so I can at least try and help guide in that manner. But yeah, other than that, spawn in, and obviously with any DayZ, just like any other DayZ run, your first instinct should be to try to find food and water, but also in Sakhal, something that's really important that you start doing really right away is you look for warmer clothes, because as you can see, even with a couple slight upgrades, I'm dark blue temperature, I'm freezing, and it's causing my food to plummet. As you can see, just jogging, I'm losing I have 3 arrows down on my food bar, which means I'm losing food pretty fast. I'm burning a lot of calories, and I'm also losing health. So obviously that's not good. So you really, really, really want to find warm clothes any way you can. It doesn't matter what they look like. I'll take this backpack so I can carry some firewood. Someone drop some stuff in here. Okay. But yeah, you want to keep warm as soon as possible. If, you find it necessary, you can start a fire. Obviously, I don't like this decision, but in official, you do spawn with a badly damaged steak knife, so you are able to make a fire right off the bat. Which, maybe for the sake of doing so, I'll show you how to do it. So you spawn in with just, the one knife with a couple uses. Let's go over how to use the knife to get the most out of it. So I'm going to use my hands here, even though I risk bleeding or cutting my hands. I'm going to save a use on the knife here by collecting sticks with my hands. Because really what you want the knife for is to cut exactly 2 pieces of bark. Well, if you want, you can use part of your bandage, or you can use some paper, rags, something that you might find. But I'm going to just use the knife to get 2 pieces of bark off this tree. One is to serve as my kindling, and one to serve as the bark that I need for the hand drill kit. So I get the 2 pieces. My knife is still usable. That's good. And basically, I have, well, I will have once I craft the hand drill kit, the 3 basic elements of starting a fire in DayZ. Let's switch to this bag. A little less noticeable. Alright, so I'm going to do the easy thing and show you how to make a fire inside of a house. It's the easiest way to have a fire in the game. Literally all you have to do. So I'm going to right click here, split my bark. I'm going to put 1 piece inside the fireplace like that. And then I'm going to take my other piece of bark with 1 short stick. I get this craft fireplace option. But as you can see, there's 2 little arrows up and down. So if I scroll up, I get a hand drill kit. Hold left click. And we will craft a hand drill kit. And now because there is some piece of kindling in my fireplace, I can just ignite that. And the kindling will light on fire. And then we can add things like firewood that you can get from trees and some thicker bush. Or you can add short sticks to the fire and acts as our fuel. So as you can see here, you can use rags, bandages, paper, or bark as kindling. It's pretty straightforward. And I think by spawning with a knife, it makes things extremely, extremely, extremely easy. You know, like part of the, you know, the struggle of a map like this is the fact that you're going to be, you know, cold right off the bat, and you need to have a fire. And I kind of just hand you a free fire, which I guess isn't a terrible thing for new players, obviously. But me, I'm more of a survivalist. Like, I like the struggle of survival in this game. So by kind of giving you a freebie, I'm like, you know. But nonetheless, that's the way to do that. Kat says, I always start by cutting up low insulation clothing and make rags for face and hand wrapping right away. Sakhal is so brutal. Sakhal is very brutal. Personally, I don't recommend cutting up clothing for face covering because the rag face stuff and hand, like the rag clothing that you can make really doesn't provide you much of anything at all. And if anything, to me, it's a bit of a waste of the knife. Like, I'd rather use a knife for a fire like this, like get a quick fire, max out your heat buff, so you'll wait till you get that little plus icon on the bottom right. Once that stops flashing, that means we're going to stay warm for a little while. And I'll just use that. I'll just live off of that and find as warm clothing as I can, because more often than not, you're going to be able to find like a warm hat, jacket, maybe some gloves, boots. Like, you're going to find some warmer upgraded clothing relatively easily if you loot your spawn town fast enough. Or well enough, I should say. So, I mean, to each their own. Everyone has their own approach to the game, obviously. I don't want to tell you, like, don't do this, don't do that. I'm a big believer in everyone can figure out their own way to do things and thrive. Just personally, I like to utilize my knife to get a fire. And, you know, because when you make the rag clothing, more often than not, you're just going to replace it really fast anyway. Like, regardless of knife usage and whatever, let's pretend this knife has unlimited uses. Like, you're going to spend time cutting up the rags, crafting the clothes and whatnot, just to replace it like probably 5-10 minutes later. That's my approach anyway. Josh, hello. Hope you're good, dude. As you can see too, you can put food on the fire. It'll help it defrost a little bit faster. And then you can also get it to be warmed up, and it'll give you a slight boost to your internal temperature as well. That is something that's a bit grueling about this map in general, is the food is all frozen. See, this one is finally cold, now chilly. Should go neutral and warm very soon. Now there's neutral. and it'll get warm in just a second. But everything that you find normally is going to be frozen, and then you have to defrost it out by a fire. So now this is warm. It'll give me a bit of a buff by eating it. So this is a good way if you're really, really, really cold and you're able to get some food on top of a fire. It's a really good way to, you know, boost your temperature quickly if you don't have something like a heat pack or whatever. Warm beer. Yeah. Well, sadly we didn't have enough fuel on the fire to light the, or to get the beer warm. But that's okay. I do want to go deeper into town anyway. I don't want to spend too long at that house fire. House fires are dangerous. IRL, obviously. But, seriously, in-game, having a fire in a house, super dangerous. I did that for the sake of, you know, just showing my process. Like how to do that very easily. I will show you how to do an outdoor fire and what conditions you need to make one as well. Dispatch the zombies. If you're completely new to the game, zombies kind of attack in a pattern, as you can see. They'll kind of do these 2 swipes, and then you have a bit of a window to block or you know, go into attack mode with them. So it's really about learning the timing. Like I just handled 2 zombies. I took 1 hit. You know, a lot of new players will, that's an uncon situation for them, fighting more than 1 zombie at a time. So I recommend, like, pay attention to the pattern in which the zombies, you know, kind of aggro and come at you. So usually it's big scream, they run at you, you know, the tracking's a little bit funky, so sometimes they might take a minute to actually get to you. But then once they do, it's usually going to be 1 swipe, 2 swipe, slight pause, and then that slight pause is where you should jump in and get some punches in. Usually you can get 1 or 2, then I'd go back to blocking, and you just kind of repeat until you get them all. Now, oh, perfect. I do need water, so my hydration level is in the yellow, which means I'm, you know, beginning to be at risk to getting sick. So anytime any of your vitals are not in the white, so food, water, temperature, blood health, all those things not being, you know, as full as they can be, puts you at risk of getting sick, essentially. All your vitals contribute to sort of an immune system, and if any one of those vitals is lower than normal or lower than what it should be, then you're going to be at risk to getting sick. So I highly recommend trying to keep everything as high as you possibly can. Obviously there's going to be situations where that's not possible, but especially when you're first getting started, this is really, really key to surviving long term. So, with Sakhal, if you're someone that is completely new to the game, these little water wells are clean water. You can find little hiking trail, like dirt paths in fields that lead out of towns to these little wells. You know, that's pretty self-explanatory, but someone that, you know, maybe has a little bit of time played in Chernarus or Livonia, this is a very, very different, you know, way to get clean water as opposed to those 2 maps, because they actually have water pumps that are located normally in central areas in towns, villages, cities. So on Sakhal, it's a little different. You're going to have to find a path that leads you out of town and is, you know, kind of out of the way from the main bits and points of interest. So, obviously, like I said earlier, I don't really know where I'm at in terms of, like, what the name of this town is. I believe this is the southwestern, one of the more southwestern spawns you can get. But I, for the life of me, do not know the name of this town. So I couldn't tell you, hey, if you spawn here, this is where this well is, you know? You just kind of have to venture a little bit further out of the towns and find those dirt hiking paths that will lead you to clean water. So now my vitals are pretty taken care of. I'm just going to loot a few houses here. Try and find some weapons, maybe some more ammo for my BK. I did find this BK rifle with 1 shot, so that's pretty nice, if I do say so. Someone dropped a engraved Colt. Oh, that's a nice little sidearm. A lot of times guns that spawn in, especially single shot or internally loaded weapons, you'll get lucky and they'll actually spawn with a, with some ammunition in them. So I do have 1 shot in this. There were some sheep out there, but I kind of want to save the shot in case I need to use it on some bigger game or, potentially other players. You never know. What's up, Buddha? Good to see you, dude. You'll clip what and send it to you. Yeah, so improvised head wrapping. Worst installation. Really doesn't do much of anything for you, in all honesty. Like, in the event that you're playing on a server or a map like Namalsk, where there's actually, like frostbite, and you actually need to cover your extremities, or else you're going to, like, suffer for it. And that counts as covering. Like, that is a situation where I would recommend that. But on Sakhal, when you're only having to deal with temperature, I personally just don't think it's worth, worth the time to make all those rag things. Shotty, maybe with a bullet? Yep. One shell. It's probably a red shell. It's always good to unload just to make sure. Yeah, 1 red shell. So there's a hot bar. I do have 2 weapons loaded. It's not a bad start. I have seen signs of people traveling through the area. Like, we saw a pistol dropped on the ground. Like, that's not gonna just be there. At least I don't think so. I did see a few magazines and random bits kind of dropped. So someone's been in the area at some point. I don't necessarily know how long it's been. Really hard to tell. There's no timing indicators like dead zombies. If there's a zombie here that I didn't kill and I saw it, dead on the ground, that tells me that someone's been here at least in the last 15 minutes or so. Since zombie bodies do have a despawn timer. The leather kit will be nice if we find a vest or some shoes we need to fix up. When your insulation in your clothing and, footwear, vests, like all that stuff really matters. Having repair kits to keep everything in tip-top shape is also super crucial to getting by. Okay. So, not getting very lucky in terms of food and clothing and whatnot. See, burlap strips, that's not going to spawn like that. Those have to be crafted, I believe, on officials, so someone crafted those, left them there for some reason. Finding jack shit, really. Huh? So usually, at this stage, where I'm starting to feel like, I don't think there's much more here that I can get out of the spawn area, I'm going to leave. So in this case, I know that if I head west, I'm gonna head into some higher tier areas. Oh, someone died here. I'm gonna head into some higher tier areas, and I don't think I'm quite ready for that, to be honest. This is something happened here. It looked like maybe someone was fishing. There's a lot of fishing hooks on the ground, and they maybe got, you know, fucking shot. So let's get the hell out of here. But yeah, if it seems like you're not finding too much, it's probably best to move on to another town. I don't want to move west or inland yet because I don't want to jump the gun too fast here. I do have 2 weapons that are decent, but only 1 shot for each of them, so maybe trying to go to another lower tier town, find a little bit more food, some better clothing, and maybe some ammo, whatever, would be a smart idea here. Leave my hotbar on for you guys. My hotbar's bugged. What do you mean? What's up, weirdo? Yeah, as you can see, I still have that heat buff, but it is starting to fade a little bit. So basically, it's just what that indicator tells you is that you're retaining heat, and the better the clothing you have. So if you have if you're completely covered head to toe in best insulated, equipment, you're gonna keep that heat buff longer than you would if you have nothing on, or all low insulation clothes, etc., etc. So the goal is to have as much and best insulated equipment as you can to try and preserve that heat buff longer. And with that, you can get up to 3 pluses instead of just the 1. But even just having the 1, I looted, a good chunk of that little village. I'm getting to the next village without being cold at all, which is really nice. As you can see, when I'm not sprinting there, I'm not losing 3 bars, or 3 hours down, I'm losing only 2. But, at least it gives us some time to maybe collect some more food to sit around a fire with, as opposed to, cooking up my little bit of scraps and working with that. And as you can see, literally just by keeping warm and running around with the food and drink in my inventory, it does eventually defrost. It's obviously a lot slower to do so when it's not going to get warm, but if you're finding little bits and pieces there, you don't have to stop for a fire every single time to thaw it out right then and there. If you keep moving, keep looting, and you are able to stay warm, then it eventually will thaw out to your body heat. Absolutely, Gibby. Good to see you, dude. I thought this would be a cool way to keep me streaming and get back into the guide making process. I also thought it would add an extra element of, like integration and like involvement, since sometimes these walkthroughs, like I kind of just go and I babble on and I'm just, by myself, and there's nobody there to ask me questions in real time. So I think it could be a really valuable tool to a lot of people that are looking to learn and understand the game, especially if we can do some elongated runs, because I did a lot of beginner walkthroughs. I didn't really get to do any intermediate and beyond, so that could be something that is explorable going forward. I don't know how much. I feel like these buildings are actually usually decent for clothing, but otherwise nothing insane. How long have you been playing DayZ for? I've been playing since it was the DayZ mod for Armor 2. So, very long time. It's that, 10, 12 years? More, maybe? What's up, Salty? Good to see you. Having some frame problems, but is what it is. I do have PTSD now going into these buildings from my DayZ Underground experience. Oh yeah, Gibby, I'm glad you like it. I hope people respond well, because I thought it would be a really cool way to keep things going. Bring the BWAD guides back, you know. I always try to think of things that people have not done yet, or a new way to present, you know, content and ideas. And, you know, this is something that I've done for a long time, and that other people have also started to do, but I try to think of a way to revisit this concept, because I think it's really helpful for brand new people. I believe that it helps a lot of people. But I just try to think of a way to do that again, but in a brand new way. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen anybody make this type of video in this format, so I'm rolling with it. For cult notes, yeah. Man, I'm finding poop clothes. Recommend carrying a torch. That is actually a good way to... Either way. At least for melee. That's a good way to extend your heat buff. For whatever reason, in DayZ, carrying a handmade torch will keep you warm enough to keep your heat buff intact, essentially. So once I get a heat buff and I am carrying a torch in hand, that heat buff does not go down until the torch gets put down or burns out. It's really wild. I don't understand why that's a thing, but it is a thing. So if you're struggling to find clothes like I am, that may be a solution for you. Great question, Salty. Great recommendation. Unless it's been patched, I'm not actually entirely sure. I mean, this at its best is a best insulation hat, so I'm gonna rock with it, with the hope that I can find like a sewing kit or something. Cool. Already have a fishing hook. Man, Sakhal zombies have tons of food on them. Definitely a good way to get food. Oh, a little ambulance. So this, I think this is I don't know if I've seen this before. I think this is new to me. So this, I think, is an exclusive to Sakhal dynamic event. So if you're familiar with DayZ in any capacity, you're probably familiar with like helicopter crash sites and convoys. Those are some of the high tier military grade dynamic events that can happen around the map. This one, I don't know if it's actually dynamic or static. I'm not entirely sure. I believe it's dynamic. So basically, dynamic means it is a random spawning event where, you know, loot can spawn. In this case, it looks like a little ambulance. You can find some medical equipment. I found a nice face mask. A heat pack that's actually super clutch right now. And that's really cool. I've never seen that. I actually really like that. Hell yeah. I'm gonna just keep moving though. I want to try and move. I think a little bit more east-northeast is one of the bigger spawn cities. And that might be a good way for me to find some better gear. Whether off of another player or... Oh, that cleaver did not last very long. Get the... Perfect. Dynamic ambulance, nice. Same category as police crashes, okay. That's really cool. I wish those were on the other maps too. That's really cool. I love that. And that ended up being really clutch. Got a good face mask, face covering. Something cool with the Schmog too, if you have a face covering and you don't have a hat yet, Schmog works as both. I personally just like the look of the face, you know, the little scarf, as opposed to the hood format or variation. Mushrooms can spawn on the beach? On Sakhal, really? I'm kind of just gonna follow these power lines. Since, I mean, I vaguely know the landscape of the map. And I can navigate a little bit visually, I just don't know mentally the names of towns and cities and stuff. But I do feel like I'm going the right direction. That little radio post, yeah, I know this village. This is a pretty common starting village, I think. At least it used to be. Yeah, it looks like there's actually a base there. Oh boy. Okay. I mean, at this point, I do have a little bit of food, water. I'm not, like, struggling to survive right now. Like, that's good, obviously. I think I do have enough to maybe make some progress inland. A lot of the center part of the map is filled with, like, hunting tier loot. So you'll find a lot of hunting jackets, clothing, weapons. Usually there's opportunity to hunt some bigger game. So if you can find a few pieces of food and water, some warmer clothing, maybe a weapon or something to defend yourself with, going inland isn't the worst on Sakhal. If, you know, you're not having luck in spawn areas like I seem to not be having today. How do you eat a plum? Long time running joke of the channel. That's insane. That's an insane zombie right there. When fighting zombies as well, I think this is good to mention. Try and aim a little bit higher than you think you need to. Because for whatever reason that registers as like the head / brain hitbox, and you're gonna do some more damage that way. Alright, so although I'd prefer the white, you know, coloring, that kind of goes with the wintry theme. I'm gonna put the better conditioned hat on to preserve a little bit of warmth. See now, right now with the heat pack and combined with our clothing, we're actually maintaining our temperature. We're not warm by any means, but we're not going, our temperature isn't dipping into the dark blue, which would cause us to lose life slowly. timing and poopy zombie mechanics. Alcohol tincture. Pick some of that up. I'm gonna swap. I'm not using this mag. I don't want to waste too much space carrying things I'm not currently using. Alcohol tincture along with iodine disinfectant spray. You can use that to disinfect bandages that aren't sterile or any rags that you might try to use to bandage yourself with. I've had a couple bleeds already, so you've seen me bandage myself and tend to any bleeds that I might get. So if you run out of that starter bandage, you can actually use, like, cut up a shirt. Like, I could cut up this hoodie with my knife. See, it gives me the option. Hold my left click, I'll get some rags out of that. But if I try to bandage myself without sterilizing them with alcohol tincture, disinfectant spray, or iodine, then I have a chance of getting a blood infection, and that is a pain in the butt to try and deal with. Because you will be grunting loudly, you will lose stamina and regen it really slow, and it's just such a painful, dreadful existence with a wound infection. I don't have any more room for more potatoes. I think we'll live. Potatoes don't really give you a lot of nutritional value anyway. Those are honestly last-ditch efforts. Like, if you can't find anything, then okay, go for the potato. Okay, the zombie. I heard it kind of grumbling to itself. I thought maybe it was a player at first, so got a little tense. What's up, D? Welcome on in. Well, 3 dial. You're in the base building. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better. So I can just look at an item on the ground and I know what insulation it is just because I've played the game and I'm a nerd. But if you hover over with your mouse or you know, you hover your little control thing on console, you can see, it'll give you a description, and on PC if you middle mouse click you can make that, enlarge that a little bit. Best insulation, so it'd be best, obviously best is the best, then there's high, medium, low, and I think worse insulation. It used to be bad, now it's worst, I think. Just so they, I guess they had to define that a little bit more. People got confused, I suppose. D, thank you so much for the 6 months of chili subscription. It's chilly out there. It is very. So at this point, obviously always looking for a little bit extra decent food and water. But I really just want a few extra rounds. Maybe some warmer boots, pants, and gloves. But otherwise, I'm going to start looking to, you know, head inland now. And I honestly might just do that at this point. I don't want to go too much further over that way. You might be questioning why I didn't loot the other part of town, but I did see, you know, some base structures. And, you know, if you're new, I recommend you don't just go waltzing up to people's bases. A lot of times they're not going to be the most friendly. People don't like unwelcomed visitors at their front gates. You might get lucky with, you know, an encounter or two where they might just tell you to fuck off, or maybe they'll even give you a little bit to work with, but in all honesty, I doubt it. So I would avoid bases and stuff like that early game. So I'm gonna head right up to this radio tower. I do need to head, right now the sun I think is kind of like northwest, westish. So I want to head like more north. I want to head to like the center of the island, the main island here. And try and get to some of those hunting areas. Find some better stuff. I should definitely be able to find better clothing there. And maybe even a decent rifle or something. Feels like we haven't gotten very far in our first 45 minutes or so here. But, you know, we have some okay clothing, have some food, we have a heat pack going that's keeping us warm even on the snowy tops of the mountains. And we have 2 loaded weapons, so I'm really not complaining. It's not bad at all. So here's that city I was talking about, but I'm just at a point now where I just want to head inland and get away because the spawns have not been very kind to me. In terms of, you know, actual equipment and loot. I haven't found anything too crazy. Now my temperature is dipping down into the dark blue because of my altitude. Altitude does play a factor when, you know, with your temperature, which, you know, logically just makes sense. Higher up where you are on a mountain in a cold environment, the colder it's gonna get, for sure. I probably should make a fire soon, but yeah, now I come back down and my temperature's kind of evening out a bit again, so I should be okay. Even in the light blue, I am at risk to potentially get sick, but I do want to make some ground, get away from the starting areas before I start another fire. I tried to limit myself to 1 fire in the spawn area if I can help it, just because my philosophy is always to try and to get out of a spawn area as quick as possible, especially if you play on a more populated server. The longer you stick around in your initial spawn town, in my opinion, the higher your chances of dying go up. So if you don't want to waste your time, like if you spend 90 minutes looting your spawn area and then you know, you die and you don't even step foot out, you know, outside of where you woke up at, then, you know, obviously the goal should be to get out as soon as possible. Find the bare minimum, which, like I said, a loaded weapon, some better clothes, food, water, and oh, and on Sakhal, some kind of fire starting equipment. So a knife will do. I was lucky enough to find some matches. You gotta be careful though, because if it starts snowing or you end up in the water somehow and the matches get damp, they will be basically useless until you can dry them out again, which I think happens naturally over time, or you can set them next to a fire and they will dry out. Ooh, some gloves. Yes, please. That helps quite a bit. These are medium insulation gloves, so they're not gonna save us by any means, but medium insulation is definitely better than open hands out in the cold. Some shots to the east, on the east coastline there. I do want to keep these videos relatively, you know, at a similar length to what I had those walkthroughs, so about an hour. We're coming up on 50 minutes. I do want to maybe get to the point of me, you know, getting to that intermediate portion of the map. Like this would be a good example of, here's your beginner, what to do in the starting area, and then we can pick up with an intermediate. Maybe if we survive long enough, we can get to like more of an advanced level survival, you know, tutorial for Sakhal. I would say the bridge between beginner, intermediate, and more advanced on Sakhal is pretty short. Like, it's a small map, right? So there's not a lot of distance between, like I said, beginner, more intermediate areas, and then end game type areas. There's that city still. I should probably head a little bit more straight north. I have a much better idea of where I'm at now. These areas are much more familiar to me since I spent a lot of time over here when Sakhal first came out. So, feeling a little more comfortable. Usually when I do spawn on like the western, southwestern coastline, I feel a little uneasy and unsure, but I'm starting to feel pretty good now. Elevation is pretty high right now, so unfortunately that means we're going to be pretty cold. We're just losing more food and water at times like these. Like these are good areas, very isolated, and I would say hidden from most other players. Like this, like covered areas like this are really good spots for a fire. Obviously, you can be spotted from the mountainside, so maybe even something like this. If you could get a fire right in between these trees right here, that's a really good spot to sit, catch a heat buff quick, and keep moving. So maybe for the sake of just showing how to ruin that knife, it's fine because we have this. For the sake of showing you like this is pretty covered. You can sit in this tree and be pretty much covered from all sides. So I'm just gonna ignite this bark. That's all you need to do. You don't need to craft a fireplace. That's like a huge myth to people. You don't have to craft a fireplace if you're making an outdoor fire. You can just put a piece of kindling literally on the floor and ignite it from there. So, and that will automatically craft, so to say, a fireplace for you. And then I'll just take one piece of firewood and we'll chuck it on the fire there, attach it. I do believe firewood burns at a higher temperature than sticks. Like that, actually, your fuel does make a difference in the quality of fire, I guess. So, you know, keep that in mind when you're having a fire. If you just need a quick one to try and get a quick buff, I do recommend at least just putting a piece of firewood on to make the fire hotter. Pretty self-explanatory, I would say. So we got 3 arrows up on our temperature bar there. We'll just grab, you know, a small heat buff, and I'll try to get to the center of the map here around the hour mark, and, you know, maybe we'll pick it up from there another time. I do believe, I mean, obviously, having a heat pack going helps, and then I'm in a much better situation clothing-wise than I was before. A good hat, medium, that's low, that's worse, and then high. But one fix of this is best, which is nice. Yeah, good to see you, Anthony. Yeah, I am getting ready to wrap up. I do want to make this like at least a weekly series, mixed in with my normal PvP streams, and those will be, you know, at least 2 to 3, maybe more hours. But these I want to keep pretty short, simple. You know, I don't I think an hour for a walkthrough video is pretty good. I think that's a pretty good length, personally. Watch from the beginning, yeah. Not super eventful. I mean, this is mainly supposed to be a walkthrough and tutorial for people new to the game. So, you know, that's just, I guess, what you can expect. Just about there. Should have the heat buff any minute. So that works. Nice. Oh yeah, so maybe this series will be valuable to you, you know. I figured Sakhal has been pretty popular. At least among all the new console players. So I figured I'd start with this and revisit the map itself. I haven't played Sakhal in... I don't even know. I don't even know how long it's been. It came out around this time last year, right? Or is it 2 years ago? Alright, fire's just about out. I pretty much have the heat buff, so... I'm just gonna keep heading over the ridge here. Oh yeah. I'm like kind of going in a circle here. I need to keep moving this way. Something else, small tip, more of a personal preference, but like the more food that you have on you, like obviously on Sakhal, a lot of stuff's gonna be frozen, can't eat it right away. But a tendency I have is to always be eating, drinking, trying to be as full as I possibly can, because one, that limits the chance for you to get sick, and two, it keeps you lighter. Obviously, the more cans of food and whatnot that you have on your person, the heavier you are, so the less stamina you have, and I am someone who prefers to play with as much stamina as I possibly can while having a sturdy, you know, built-out character. Yeah. And three, if you die and someone takes you out, you know, you're not giving them a bunch of food on top of you dying, you know? Okay, so here we are. This is the volcano, as you can, if you can see it there in front of me. That's actually a giant volcanic mountain. And just in front of me here, to the west of the mountain, is a small military camp, an outpost, that is very popular in my experience. And I see zombies already over there. So I feel like someone's probably looting it or nearby. So if you're more than, what, I think it's 400 meters away from a spot and you see zombies spawned, that means someone else is triggering them to spawn, because you have to be within a certain distance for them to spawn on your character. I think I even see a dead one, actually, so someone's definitely nearby, or has been lately. And real quick, another tip. You can use these spots down here. These are little hot springs. You can use that to get a quick heat buff as well. And just take your shoe off, like take your shoes off, and you can get pretty close and dip your feet kind of into the water and it will warm you up. But don't go too deep into it because it will overheat you, and that is not good. 600, no, it's definitely closer than that, I would say. I believe the number's 300. I think if you're within 300, they can spawn on you. If not, it's on someone else. So, as a beginner, I don't necessarily recommend going to a military outpost like this with minimal weapons and with the potential threat of someone being here. But, I do sort of want to check it out because there can be military stuff here that I kind of need. And this is a good, this will be a good learning opportunity as well, no matter what the outcome of the situation ends up being. So I do have one long range shot, and I do have one close range shot. So we could try to make do with what we've got here. Worst case scenario, I think we could also just take a look and leave, or I don't know, disengage from a fight, whatever it comes down to. This is the direction I want to be headed, so. The dog is not happy with me. Oh yeah. That's an easy target right there too. Sad to say for that guy. He's very hurt. You can tell because of the way that he's limping around like that. You know, it is the survival of the fittest out here. I'm gonna kind of let him loot. Let him come out a little closer. And we're gonna take him out. We need the food. We need the better equipment. And he's dead. Just in case our friend has a buddy, I'm gonna relocate a little bit. Big PvP tip, especially after you take out another player. If you get to that point, congrats, you killed your first player. What to do now? Do not run straight for the body. Odds are, especially on a small map like this, but just in general, odds are there could be somebody else accompanying that player. A lot of people play in groups. So even if you observe them for a while and they seem like they're by themselves, always take the precaution and play as if they're not. I always do a little bit of a flank at an alternative angle, look around a little bit, and double check that there's nobody else in the area, whether it's their buddy or not, just to be on the safe side of things. I may have actually just seen something moving on the ridge opposite of me. I couldn't tell if it was a zombie or not. It kind of looked like a player the way it was moving. Now it's peeking again. But actually, I think it's just a zombie moving weirdly, yeah. Looks like it. So, yeah, honestly, if I had more shots at range, I would honestly prefer to stake that out for a couple minutes and just make sure. But because I don't have any more shots at range, I'm gonna be a little bit more risky and go right for the body. But he's got some good shit, holy hell. He's got a plate. I'm not gonna take the helmet, to be honest, because doesn't make sense for me to take that. Got some better pants. Got a lot of just random shit. Alright, I'm gonna drop. I have an AKM, I have a Mosin now. I think his belt with the canteen. Also carrying fire supplies, which personally I don't recommend. You can always find fire supplies, like, pretty much everywhere. Alright, and we're gonna get the fuck out of here. Drag the zombie away, don't worry about it, you don't have to fight it right this second. Get away. Out from, Alright, let's get downhill and kind of disappear into the trees here. So that guy, here's what I'm gonna say. I think that guy was just sick. Because it looked like he was eating burnt food. And he was eating this, oh no, it's just baked. Huh, I wonder what he was so hurt from then. Because he was super geared. He was very hurt. That's why I kind of took that opportunity. Like, maybe that's not the right thing to do in some people's eyes, but that's an easy opportunity to move up in the gear world. It's got tons of ammo. Oh, I'm definitely gonna keep this CR pistol. It's really helpful. Oh, he probably got sick by eating the wolf steak. So you can't eat predator animals in DayZ. You will get sick from that. So definitely recommend not doing that. I'm gonna use this to fix up my clothing. I'm gonna do the gloves, since these are good gloves. Care about preserving these a little more than the schmog, since I don't want to necessarily keep a red schmog forever. So these scientific briefcase keys, maybe he was going around collecting them. He had three sets. There is a random event that can happen along that volcanic mountainside, that you can find like a dead scientist that has a briefcase, and the briefcase will have some goodies in there. There's stuff to get into the endgame bunker. There's stuff to I think there's like a filter bottle which allows you to turn dirty snow into drinkable water, which is really helpful. And I forget what else you can find in there, but that's probably where this guy got a lot of ammo. Or no, he didn't open the briefcase, so I'm not quite sure where he got all this stuff. But no, so okay, that's a good question too. For those that are asking why I don't want to take this, or wondering why I don't want to take this backpack, personally, way too big, way too bulky. I'm someone who likes to play a low-key, like low-profile, type approach to the game. And this backpack, one, makes too much noise. Like, you can just hear that on my back, right? Whereas with, like, listen how much quieter that is. That's going to allow me to sneak on someone much more than this backpack will. So obviously 56 slots, that's nice, as opposed to just 20, but that is all preference and gameplay. You know, it's really just gameplay preference. It's all it boils down to. And that is my preferred approach. I'll definitely keep that Tetra though. Yeah, so I'm someone, I have videos on this as well. I'm someone who likes to maximize efficiency with my storage space, keeping the necessities, knowing what I need, knowing what I don't need, and just playing off of that. Yeah, my heat buff is starting to give out. I can go refresh it down here at the spa. The hot spring. KAM, baby. That would be nice if we can find a mag. Oh, they added a nice little, like, geyser sort of effect to it. That's pretty cool. Now my feet dipped in the water. Look, my temperature going up. I like to try and move around a little bit. Not just sit in one space. I explain why my stamina bar only refills halfway. So it only refills halfway because the more weight that you have on your person, the less stamina that you are given. So basically, the more you carry, the less stamina you get. Alright, so in the red now. Means I'm overheating. That should keep me warm enough to extend the buff a little bit. And that was just for the sake of showing, like, this is a thing you can do. Don't need to stay in there forever. But yeah, that's a good question. Why is my stamina only going up halfway? So when you're fresh, your stamina bar will be completely full. But like, for example, the plate carrier weighs about 16 kilograms. You can see that. I don't know why it says 16 there. It says 12 here. That's weird. But if I were to take it off, look how much I get. I go back up to like 3/4 of my stamina bar. And back down to about half. So weight plays a factor into how much stamina you can actually use and regain. So that's something also to keep in mind. That's also why I prefer personally to not wear big backpacks and maximize storage capacity, because I don't want to be hoarding a bunch of items and over carry and lose a bunch of stamina. I'm the type that wants to maximize minimal slots and play a more sneaky approach. So I want my stealth, I want my noise to be down, I want my stamina, I want to be able to run and flank and do sneaky rat stuff. That is just the way that I've approached, you know, DayZ. We had an FX45 as well. I didn't realize that. I probably would have stuck with the FX, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep the CR pistol and the spare suppressor. I would like the binos though. This might be a good place to actually wrap things up though. I am a little over the hour mark because of that situation we got into. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good covering of the basics. Obviously, I've ended up a lot more geared than I expected just because, you know, we encountered that dude. I'm definitely not mad about it. I think you got a little taste of all the small things with Sakhal. And there's definitely a lot more we can go over. And we can do a little bit more intermediate looting and survival and some next steps after you get yourself out of the spawn island, or the spawn area. So, cool guys, I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed this. I do want to continue to do more, you know, tutorial walkthrough live streams like this. I think it's I think honestly this was really fun for me. To usually I sit down and I record this on my own and I just kind of have to talk to myself for an hour, but you know, it was cool to have people asking questions and you know, kind of engaging with me throughout the process. It's really helpful to keep things moving along and you know, answering things that people actually want to know. So, you know, if you have more questions, feel free to leave a comment. Like the video if you enjoyed, if you thought this was helpful, and if you want me to do more. And, you know, maybe let me know what other maps and spawn points and things that you want me to cover in a live video format like this.